It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman with you until the Vince Show comes your way at 11 on KCMO. As we are living in historic times once again during the Trump 2.0 presidency, as the United States has attacked Iran and pretty much every military installation that they have. And it will continue for quite a while. We have learned just this morning that Trump has said in an interview that the big wave is yet to come. And they initially had what they thought would be about a 4-week plan, and they believe they are ahead of schedule on the 4-week plan, that things are going very well. They have hit over 1,000 targets. Israel has dropped over 2,000 bombs and controls the airspace over Iran, and it was swift and impressive. Now, I hesitate a little bit to get into too many of the details, although this is a live format. We expect to go to the White House here shortly when Donald Trump reaches the podium. It will happen, we believe, at some point this hour, unless he's really late. It was scheduled for 10 a.m. He's not there yet. There's usually about a 2-minute warning on that, but we'll carry that for you when he steps up to the microphone. But I hesitate to get too much into the details of all the things going on, because this is officially the first story I can remember trying to follow or cover or call people, where as you search through and filter through, like your timeline and all your news sources are just being attacked by all kinds of things that look like they're not real. It is everywhere. The number of things that I've seen that look like they're people posting social media on behalf of Iran, that all these giant towers all over the world are crumbling and falling, that their $35,000 drones were flying in and knocking out the tallest building in the world and things like that. I can't imagine how many people believe that, and I know what that is for. That is for the people in Iran to believe that the regime that was in charge is still in charge and it's going to be okay. Make no mistake about this. It hasn't been reported widely, but in Tehran, when this occurred, there were tens of thousands of people that went to the street that were mourning for the Ayatollah dying and were devastated by this, that are loyal to the religious regime, which has been so murderish and thuggish for 47 years, that, I mean, you're not going to get any context at all from me on what's going on the ground in Iran and what people think there. We see all kinds of images of people that are celebrating. We've seen Iranians doing the Trump dance. We have seen in California and New York, Israelis on the street with Iranians and Americans all waving flags, celebrating that the regime, and 49 leaders now, it's confirmed, are dead from the upper brass of the regime in Iran. And I believe that. I believe there's all kinds of Iranians in America that didn't want to be in Iran anymore. And if they could get here, this is better than there. You would think that they would celebrate this. They want to go back to a peaceful, mostly free and democratic society in Iran. They'd love to have elections and freedom of speech. There are still things that even those that are Iranian that say that don't fully believe, because it's not in their good book. And there are certain things about women and dress and culture that are way too expansive to get into here. But it appears this is all going pretty well. We've lost 4 military members. 3 died, were named initially. 5 were wounded. One of those wounded has died. So it's a total of 4. And Trump was on record yesterday saying that's too many. And we're going to do everything that we possibly can to not lose anyone else. But we probably will lose more people. So there are some capabilities. We know that Iran has fired some sort of munition into at least a dozen other countries, which I'm not sure that I completely understand. They're turning the whole region against them, if the whole region wasn't already against them. They are terrorists at heart. They know they can't do any real damage to the United States military. It's not like at this point, when we control the skies, that they're going to be taking out the USS Abraham Lincoln or something like that out in the Persian Gulf. That's not going to happen. So what they're doing is they're basically terror bombing countries around them, just trying to get anything to land and hurt anyone or anything that they believe is not protected by military assets. If they have to hit a commercial building, a skyscraper, or a school or a hospital, they'll do that. They're trying to find locations they don't think are as well protected by the United States and Israel in the skies. So this will get complicated. There's going to be countries that have problems in them in the Middle East that may soften with their public stance on how much they support the United States, I think Americans over time will have very little room for Trump to do this for a long period of time. I think you would look at maybe if you did polling today, for example, over a 3-day rolling period, and we wait even 2 weeks or 3 weeks on this, I think you're going to see a big difference of what people think. They'll be like, okay, how many targets we got to take? How long we got to keep doing this? What's the plan inside Iran? And we don't really have that plan. We don't really know what's going to transpire there. But the stated goal is impressive. And I don't know that I've ever seen a speech more impressive, certainly not by a Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, that Pete Hegseth gave earlier today, where he said, make no mistake about this, we will be violent, we will be decisive, and we will be swift. And that's what we've been. And that's what we will continue to be. The goal of this mission is to eliminate all military assets of the nation of Iran. That's it. Every last gun, bullet, tank, truck, plane, boat, whatever they have, missile site, every single one is targeted for elimination. And the idea would be to, I guess, allow, I don't know if they're going to allow another Ayatollah to run this for a while, but if you completely destabilize them and cripple them militarily, whoever takes over in Iran will have to take orders from the United States. I think the model here is Venezuela. We're not really in Venezuela running Venezuela, but we're running Venezuela. It was Maduro's vice president, and a deal was struck. You get to be in charge as long as you go down a path that's acceptable to us. We're taking the oil. We're cutting off the cartels. No more drugs. But there's a military in place in Venezuela that we have not messed with, and we're not going to mess with. We have no reason to do that as long as the people running Venezuela are acting responsibly. And we obviously know everything going on everywhere. I know Israel's getting a lot of intel credit as well. And General Kane said today it was, they did a daylight. This was a daylight operation, which surprised everybody. In fact, it was probably a stunning and surprising attack on Iran because it was daylight, which is not what you expect. But that's when they had the intel that the Ayatollah and up to 40 of his lieutenants were all in one place at the same time. Not real smart. And we took them out. This is a completely different kind of war than we've ever seen in our lifetime. There is no plan at this point for any boots on the ground. And it was we clearly know where all these leaders are. And Pete Hegseth said today we used drones, missiles, B-2 bombers. He rattled off everything that we used. And, of course, classified resources, he said. We just don't know what we have. What happened in Venezuela was stunning to us. That we have something that debilitated all the people around Maduro and just dropped them to the floor and their noses were bleeding and they couldn't move for an hour. I don't know what that was. I don't know what kind of shock wave or sonar or electrical force. I don't know what that is. Nobody seems to know what that is except our military. And we did some really good things in Iran again, and Pete Hegseth is saying it. He gave a brilliant speech today. Our resolve is there. He took the last 2 minutes to speak directly to the troops and let everyone in America, this was extemporaneous. He was not reading. It's as impressive as it gets. I think about that Lloyd Austin and some of these other people that we used to have in the government. Even if we go back to people like Rumsfeld and the unimpressive nature of some people that wind up being in the cabinet has always bothered me. Trump has crushed it. If we look at, for example, Hegseth, Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Scott Bessent, it is impressive. Does he have some duds? Yeah, they've had a little trouble with Kristi Noem. Dan Bongino's already out. There's been some things that have happened. You're okay. But, man, this is an impressive bunch, and I was proud to be an American today. Everyone listening to this show is a different age, and we come from different generations. I can't speak for how you feel today, but I'll just share a couple of minutes here of what I feel. I'm old enough that I was a budding teenager when the revolution occurred in Iran, and they took American hostages for 444 days. And it was like yesterday. Yesterday here in Kansas City, we had clouds all day, It was rainy. It was gloomy. It was windy. If you stepped outside, you're like, what am I doing outside? And you just generally were kind of in a gloomy mood. The weather can do that to you. That was 440 days of Jimmy Carter as president until Ronald Reagan put his hand on the Bible. That's when those hostages were released. Iran has not stopped messing with us since then. They have killed, they have tortured, they have funded terrorism. We've got the Beirut bombing of the embassy. We have terrorist attacks. We saw one Saturday night in Austin, Texas. A man from Senegal wearing a hoodie that said "Property of Allah" and a T-shirt underneath with an Iranian flag on it. Open fire outside a bar in Austin, Texas. My son lives in Austin, was actually at that bar earlier in the evening, restaurant. It's a barbecue place with an open courtyard. It's hard to describe what it is. It turns into a club at night, but it's huge. I don't know how many people it is, maybe 500, 700, or 1,000. It's a massive, sprawling complex. This is a big place. It's not unusual for a whole lot of people to be there at any time. He left much earlier than this occurred, but they're a little scared in Austin, and we should be on alert everywhere. It's a good day to remind everyone listening, if you see something, say something. If you see somebody drop a backpack, call it in. If you see anything that looks suspicious, call it in. It doesn't hurt. They're here. Our borders have been open for 4 years. Iranians hate us. Jihadists have a stated goal of death to America. They're among us. Not sure we know where they all are. I think we've got a pretty decent handle on it. But I guess we'll find out when you have open borders how many people sneaked in that you didn't even know got in and where they are and what they're doing. I believe this was all calculated by the Trump administration when he took over. I think he said, how long do we need? He asked General Kane. He said, you know what? We sure could use a year to ramp this thing up. We need to gather intel. We need to stockpile bombs. We need to figure out a plan. We need all those things. We saw the beautiful bombing of the nuclear sites several months ago from the B-2 bombers here in Kansas City. They were used in these as well. And this was the follow-up. We fired the warning shots. They didn't lose a lot of people. They lost some nuclear capability, but didn't lose a lot of people. It was time to come to the table and become a normal part of the world, and they refused. Apparently they wanted to die martyrs, and there's a whole bunch of them that think they died martyrs. I don't think they did, but they think they do. And that's why these people are so difficult to deal with. Jihadists wrap themselves in glory of death. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We will monitor the White House and let you know if Trump comes out. If he does, we're going to go right to it. If you didn't get a chance to see Pete Hegseth's speech earlier today, you want to check that one out. In the meantime, I'd love to hear from you. Many of you are not old enough. We're not even born in 1979. Many of you are much older than me and probably remember a peaceful Iran. I don't. I don't ever remember a time that Iran was anything but the only country on earth that really embarrasses us. We talked about all these so-called enemies we have. China's this big threat, that big threat. They don't really try to embarrass us. All Iran has done for 47 years is terror and embarrassment. That boat, when Obama was president, that they boarded with our sailors on it, and they put them down on their knees. It's one thing after another. They have tried to embarrass the United States of America. We are the great Satan to them. And they're at war with us now. I guess we'll see what they have. If this works for Donald Trump, he'll have done something that I never thought was achievable. I gave up on peace in the Middle East a long time ago. So these people can't be dealt with. They're terrorists. They're willing to die. How do you deal with people that are just going to go do suicide missions? How do you do that? How do you deal with those people? You don't. You can't. They're stuck in their ways of thousands of years ago and will not move off of them. And I think this can work, but it can't work if they keep putting religious zealots in there as ayatollahs. They're going to need some form of a democracy and a real government that the people have some say in. If that happens, we might get peace in the Middle East, and Trump will have done something that hasn't been done for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. 913-408-7957 is our number to call. If you'd like to join us, we'll do that next on KCMO. Okay, the time's yours as we wait for President Trump to reach the podium. We will start today with Mark in Independence on KCMO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mark. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fine, and I want to say I'm 69 years old, And in 1979, I was going to Penn Valley Community College. I was part of student government. And we had Iranian, mostly males there at Penn Valley, advocating for the downfall of the Shah. Myself and two other friends on student government, we were debating them because I got a lot of information then from a girl I used to take out to lunch. She was also a fellow classmate. She was a young female from Iran, very smart. And she was giving me information because there was no internet then, and I couldn't just readily find all this out. She was giving me information about, yes, the Shah wasn't the best thing in the world, but he was far better than what they were going to get with an Islamic leader like Ayatollah Khomeini. So ever since then, and by the way, I agree with you. When Ronald Reagan got elected in 1980, it was like somebody turned the lights on, and the storm and the dark clouds cleared the sky, and the sky was blue. That's how I remember it as well. But Iran, with their leadership, not the people, but their leadership, they have always been an issue. They've been like a hangnail on my big toe. And today, I feel vindicated. So does my other friend that debated with me against the Iranian students. We feel very, very vindicated. And so far, the mission has been successful because more than anything, we've taken out that regime, and we're going to do away with their nuclear weapons. And yes, there might be some hard knocks. We may have to have boots on the ground. I don't want to hear all this crying about, boots on the ground. You know what? You do whatever it takes, because the alternative was a nuclear Iran. And if you don't like American soldiers dying, how would you like all of America to die?
Mark,
and that's the way I see it.
Great call, buddy. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I can't imagine having those debates with those students back then. It was a very tense time for sure. Here is Jerry in St. Joe. Good morning, Jerry.
Hi, Kevin. How are you doing?
Fine, sir. Thank you.
I am a fan. I told your producer that I know people that you know, and all I do know is man cannot live on sports talk alone. They need other things too, and what you provide is awesome.
Well, we all know each other. I always describe Kansas City as the biggest small town in America.
Yeah, well, even St. Joe, we always looked up to you guys. There's nothing neater than seeing the skyline coming from St. Joe, going to Kansas City, going to Kaufman, going to Arrowhead, going wherever the new places are going to be. I'm going to be all for it, but if I survive. I'm 60 years old right now. The reason I called is I remember 1979. I remember when Ronald Reagan got in office. I remembered how he changed the tide on everything. I remembered the old gas lines, the embargo, and all that stuff. That was really bad times. I hated it back then, but it all got better. And the last thing, I'll let you go. I had one friend that was born in Tehran, Iran. He was a manager at the bar at a hotel in St. Joe, Ramada Inn. I don't know if you'd know it back then. It's gone now. It's across from Stony Creek.
All right.
He was born there. He became a dealer at blackjack at the casino we've got, and he was a really, really good guy. So my thoughts and prayers are with the people that didn't deserve that stuff in Iran, and I hope I believe in Persia. I believe in the biblical kind of stuff, and this stuff is.
I appreciate it, man. That's an excellent call.
Sudden destruction. So I'll let you go at that.
Okay. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Say hi to our friends in St. Joe. Well done. Here's Mike in Olathe. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Kevin. How are you?
Fine, sir.
Good. Yeah. Hey, you stole my thunder, but yeah. Hey, I think Trump's like drawing a line in the sand. You know, it's like he went into Venezuela. He went into Iran. It's not only the nuclear, but, I mean, he's playing the long game of, like, oil. And if I was Mexico, I'd be shaking in my boots, especially that president, because once we're done with them, he may be looking at them because they produce a lot of oil. And it's kind of like, you know, he'll put a terrorist label on it because the cartels are a terrorist organization. So that gives him any right to go in, you know, and take care of business.
He's going to get a lot of blowback. He's already getting some from Democrats now. And
you know what?
I got about 10 seconds. We got about 10 seconds.
He gets blowback all the time. I mean, that's what he's known for. He pushes the button.
There's no doubt. I got to stop you right there because we're up against a break. People like Sharice Davids are out there saying, oh, Iran's terrible. This needed to be done. Just not Trump. I'm like, what? It doesn't even sound American. The news is up next. We're still monitoring a live shot of the White House where President Trump is expected to speak soon about the goings-on in Iran. There's a whole bunch of empty seats right up front. That will be for part of his staff that comes into this room, but they're all sitting there waiting, and we should get something like a 2-minute warning. So until then, we'll keep taking your phone calls if you'd like to join us. And we now check in with Wes in Gladstone. Hi, Wes. Good morning. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good, man. You can file this under "we don't deserve him." Secretary of War Hegseth said two very important things. One, no quagmire, like were engineered in the past by guys like LBJ, Bush, and Cheney. Two, if you threaten to kill Americans, if you threaten Americans or America, anywhere in the world, we will find you and kill you. That's just common sense, and we finally have common sense people in control. And I was a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about the Kuwaitis shooting down 2 of our jets. So I hope whoever runs Kuwait, I hope they got a phone call today.
Well, it was an accident, obviously, and they were confused by something. I don't know if there was some jamming or what happened, but they're not going to give us the details on it, nor should they. We didn't lose any of the pilots. We lost 3 planes, but we didn't lose the pilots. And it's friendly fire, and you're coordinating with other nations. You're using their airspace, and they've all got missile defense from Iran, so something fired, and they must have thought they were Iranian planes. My guess is it might not even be like a human error. It might have just been, hey, they read this stuff getting lobbed over at them when it's coming, and they see it, it launches. I mean, they're on alert 24/7 in those countries from bombs being lobbed their way.
Oh, right. It was just the Israelis came out and said, we control the airspace. Well, to me, that meant Iran's not flying any planes out of there. But
right.
Maybe that's not the case.
And maybe the confusion was they looked at the screen and saw the blip and thought it was a missile and not an airplane. There could be a difference. I don't know. It's really unfortunate that it happened, but we're really lucky that the pilots all survived. That was a good thing.
Well, we've got some good men who are finally leading us. That's the main point.
Well said. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the call, Wes. Always. I like Serious Wes. That's pretty good. I like Serious Wes. I think we will all take that. I think we're getting close to the president coming here. So, Libby, you're in Waldo, and you have the floor. But if I see the president step up, I'll have to cut you off. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Jeff. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jeff in Kansas City. Hi, Jeff.
Good morning. You know what? Your show's awesome. You're right on target. You and I are the same age, and I just want to say amen. Thank you for what you do.
This really isn't about me today. It's about our service members and the peril that they're in fighting this battle. This is going to last a while. This thing isn't going to wrap up this week unless they wave a white flag. And people who want to die, and they jihadists by definition have a death wish. If you want to die, you don't normally wave the white flag. But that's really what we need to have happen is for somebody over there to say, look, we're waving the white flag. You did it. Okay, we want to come to the table and figure this out. We want to be normal.
There you go.
All right, thanks for the call. I think it was getting a little complicated there. Okay, now let's see where we're going. Now we got Libby and Waldo. Hi, Libby. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you, Kevin. One thing this is one thing I like about myself, and this is one reason why I like and I love this president. If I say to somebody I'm going to do something, actions speak louder than words. And that's the one thing that we have in this president is that when he says he's going to do something, he does it.
Yeah, and he's completely transparent about it. He says it up front, and then as it's going on, they're being pretty transparent. I thought Pete Hegseth today, again, I just think it was the best speech or briefing I've ever seen during a military operation. He's like, this is not the United States military you've thought of the last 30 years, okay? That's not what we're doing. We're not going in on the ground. This is not the way we're fighting this. We're going to eliminate, he said in this thing, and I don't have the exact quote, our goal is to eliminate every piece of munitions that they have in Iran. We're going to just disable them. They're not going to have a military. We're not interested in killing people. There will be people die when we do this, but we want to take everything out so then they don't even have to believe us anymore. They don't have an ability to hurt anybody. Once you take their ability away to hurt people, they can sit there and talk all they want. And it doesn't do any good.
That's right.
It's very serious. He said, we're violent, we play to kill, we're decisive, and we're swift. And that's exactly right. No more of this DEI stuff or trying to please the world. Or do we really care if the United Kingdom is with us or Canada right now or any of these other countries? Do we really care? We don't. we're going to eliminate this. It's going to benefit them, but they're not solid enough allies the way it is. Israel's the partner we have, and he made great comments about Israel.
Yeah.
He said, when you have a capable partner that is with you, it changes everything. And I think what he was saying was, this is the country and the nation that's capable along with us, but the rest of you really aren't.
Yep, you got a good point, Kevin. Okay, well, let's get ready to listen to our president.
All right, Libby, thank you
Kevin.
so much. I appreciate that. I can't go on and on enough about Pete Hegseth, and I didn't know what to expect. I'm the guy, I'm the nut job that said, look, my concern with Trump, with his cabinet, is he hires too many celebrities. He loves celebrities. Hegseth kind of had that hanging around his neck. Okay, he's a Fox News anchor, but then you dive into it a little bit more and you see that he went to Harvard and he's this celebrated student and he's served in Iraq twice and been in battle and done all these things. And you're like, yeah, okay. And then you watch him and I'll be honest with you. There's something a little with Pete Hegseth. There's something that is so perfect and smooth about him that you question if it's real. That pocket square he wears that is the edge of an American flag that you can see stars and stripes on it. His hair's perfect. The tie's always perfect. He's the best dressed guy in the administration. There's a little Gavin Newsom to him. You're like, this has got to be too good to be true. But my God, the substance behind what he does and what he says is just spectacular. I mean, it's really something to behold. I couldn't be more impressed with what he said today. And we've got roughly 15 countries Iran is now fired on with something. I read earlier today that the drones they send up cost them $35,000. It costs us $4 million to take one out. The amount of might and money that we've spent in order to have this situation, maybe it is perfect, just time and place. Maybe it took Donald Trump. Maybe it took now. There's no question over the last year, the buildup to this, we've been debilitating Iran. We've been cutting off their finances. There's so many things have happened with this regime to set this up for now. And it's the best time and place. It's the best time and place. Doesn't mean it's going to work. Doesn't mean Iran's going to change. It doesn't mean some religious zealot doesn't wind back up in there, because that absolutely could happen too. But so far, this is the best we could hope for. Here's Stu in Rosedale on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, Stu.
Hi, Kevin. Kevin, a thought occurred to me that expresses what Trump is doing in a nutshell, and I hope it's a way that everybody can relate to. President Trump is channeling Captain James T. Kirk. He is wielding American military power like the commander of a starship. And as Rush Limbaugh used to point out, no nation in the history of the world has ever possessed the military might of the United States, nor has used it more judiciously. And that is what is going on.
Yeah, I think that is going on. Thank you, Stu. I appreciate that. It's going on, no question, in Iran, but it's going on elsewhere as well. I mean, most people at this point are saying, hey, Cuba's next. If we're out of this thing in 4 weeks and something is figured out, I mean, we need a Rubio plan, right? Rubio's running Venezuela. We need Rubio to run Iran. Get them to submit completely and concede, and let's get somebody in there, their people, not us, taking orders for how this is going to go down, that you're going to listen to your people, you're going to let them assemble, you're going to listen to their free speech, you're going to give them some rights back. You can have your own country, cultures, traditions. That's the thing about Trump. Then it just triggers the left like crazy. This whole thing does. The masculinity that Pete Hegseth was, the toxic masculinity, is just exceptional. I mean, it had to just trigger all kinds of leftists this morning when he gave that speech. No, he's like, no, we're not a DEI military anymore. We're not taking any crap from any country that wants to complain about what we're doing. We don't care. We don't care. We're not apologizing. And if there's collateral damage and some people die, innocent people somehow or whatever, they're in the building next to a military target, we're not apologizing for it. We're going to end this. That is the goal, to end this. And boy, wouldn't that be something. We'll take a little break here. The president's got to be getting close to the podium. We want to get that for you. We can do that live next on Uncanceled. Okay, President Trump has entered the room at the White House. and he is standing to the side of the stage. This is a medal ceremony, and I believe are they starting with a prayer? Is that what I'm looking at? I can only see, they're not showing it really on television, down in a small box. Looks like everybody's head is bowed, and maybe they're doing a moment of silence here or a prayer for the fallen service members. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure, to be honest, why Fox News isn't going to this. The president is in the room, and we are at war. Whether you want to say that or not, we can get into the political part of it as the days go by and whether the Congress needs to act in the War Powers Act and grant authority. I think part of this is Trump and his team building the case for why we're doing it to get more support politically, but I don't really care that much. I said on my podcast earlier today, I didn't like that Joe Biden had the authority to ignore the law at our border for 4 years and just have it open. I didn't like that Obama had the authority to give billions of dollars in cash on pallets to the Iranians when he was president. But I like the fact that the president has those powers. And I think most Americans believe that presidential power is more important than congressional or Senate power or even the Supreme Court. We make laws, but we also have presidents that don't follow them. I think somewhere in all of this, with all of us, we look at a situation like this and say it needs to be one person. We voted for that one person. That's why the election matters more than a congressional election or a Senate or any of these other things. It matters more who the president is. And he is stepping to the podium right now at the White House after they've completed their prayer.
There's no ceremony that can be much more important than this. Let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped, but everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people. Our country itself would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen. For almost 47 years, this regime has been attacking the United States and killing Americans. Every time you see someone with missing arms and legs or a face that's been absolutely shattered violently, it was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, who was the father of the roadside bomb. Very proudly, he thought, but I terminated him in my first term. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. And they are indeed sick and sinister. Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their Navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out, and they came back, and we thought we had a deal, and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You got to do it the right way. Today, we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We have the strongest and most powerful, by far, military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, if the president wants to do it really quickly, after that he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think he'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now, I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through. We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot. But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're listening to President Trump live on Fox News right now. It's producer Mark. We're going to keep carrying this live through the Vince Show.
Thank you, everybody. We have a lot of great service members here with us, too, in this beautiful building. Isn't it beautiful? We're adding on to the building a little bit. We're improving the building. See that nice drape? When that comes down, right now you see a very, very deep hole. But in about a year and a half from now, you're going to see a very, very beautiful building. And there's your entrance to it right there. In fact, it looks so nice, I think I'll save money on the doors, because it can't get more beautiful than that. I picked those drapes in my first term. I always like gold, but I think we can save a lot of money. I just saved curtains. But and it'll be spectacular. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom. I believe it's because I built many a ballroom. I believe it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world. And when you hear all that hammering out there, you know why the First Lady is not thrilled exactly. She said, will the pile drivers ever stop? You know, they go from 6 in the morning till 11:30 in the evening. Can you imagine? Here? You know what? To me, that's a beautiful sound. She doesn't like it. I love it. You know what? To me, other than here, because we're donating it, not a penny to the taxpayer.
All right, that is our President Donald Trump. He is off of Iran and on to the next thing. So we are going to pass it off to Vince Coglianese, and he will have the latest breaking news next for you guys. So enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks for listening to KCMO Talk Radio and Uncanceled.